Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going through my Game Week 24 team selection. That's right, Game Week 23 has finally come to an end. Moving on to Game Week 24 now. And Game Week 24 might be the last single game week for a very long time. We've got blanks and doubles coming thick and fast. So this might be the last week of normality for a very long time. If you're enjoying the content here on this channel, please do remember to like, comment and subscribe. But without further ado, let's jump into today's video. Before we jump into looking at my team ahead of Game Week 24, I just wanted to give a massive shout out to the legends over at OneFootball who continue to be the official sponsors of the team selection videos here on this channel for the foreseeable future. If you're new to this channel and you don't know who OneFootball are, they are the best free football app on the market, whether it be transfer news, injury news, press conference updates, whether it be live notifications and a live ticker during the game, or potentially even different statistics on different teams and players as well. It can basically act as your companion both in football and FPL and aid you both throughout the week and also at the weekend as well. So if you'd like to get the best free football app on the market and you'd also like to help support the channel as well, you can do both of those things for free by scanning the QR code in the top left corner of the screen or by clicking the link in the description. If you do download OneFootball, as I always say, please let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. So guys, I'll make this as quick as possible because I assume, like me, you are well and truly done with Game Week 23. It was the world's longest game week, and not only that, but we of course had the Dennis red card, which is just variance at its very best. It wasn't a bad decision to buy him or captain him, and pretty much every popular player blanked. So just as an example of how bad Game Week 23 was, FPL_Salah does the game weeks like anytime scorer odds based on the bookies odds, and he also does anytime clean sheets as well. And for the first time in what he thinks is history, but definitely since he's been doing it, all 16 of the most likely goal scorers, according to the anytime odds in Game Week 23, all blanked. All 16, not a single one of them scored, which just proves what an incredibly ridiculous week this has been for FPL, and one to forget for most of us. So 34 points for me was essentially a grey arrow. You can see I've dropped about 1,000 places, so it wasn't a big stress at all. I actually went into the final game with a green arrow and Josh King captain left to go. And I somehow left the game when the only major threat was about a 30% owned Foster. I somehow left the game with a red arrow. So that just shows what a ridiculous week it was. So King captainers, I should say, definitely got the better over Dennis captainers, but not a massive amount. It ended up being about, what, eight points or so. So it could have been a lot worse for Dennis captainers. It could have been a lot better for King captainers, but we'll take it. And yeah, I'm not going to talk about it in too much detail. Everyone on the team blanked, apart from Jota with a single assist and no bonus. And very luckily, Ramsdale pulled through for me with 8 points, which was absolutely massive this week. You can see my bench has actually got quite a few points in it. So I had De Gea on my bench, but Ramsdale was the correct choice in the end, which I'm very, very happy with. And I had Dalot as well with a big 9-pointer against West Ham. You can see by the fact that I've got Bowen and Antonio on my team, I definitely wasn't expecting Dalot to get a clean sheet and 3 bonus as well. So I'm not too disheartened about the fact that I played him. I was always going to play Cucurella, Cancelo and Trent ahead of him. So that's how Game Week 23 went. And like I said, it wasn't a fantastic week, but it wasn't a good week for anyone. And as the old saying goes, it was definitely a good week to have a bad week, and I think we'll all bounce back from it. And if you had a bad week, don't stress too much because everyone was in the same boat as you, apart from a few. I assume there'll be a few that had very, very good scores. If you were the lucky one that had an incredible score in Game Week 23, let me know down below. And if you just want to let me know your terrible score, if it was like 18 or 20 points, let me know down below as well. We can sort of make like a support group down below in the comments. So without further ado, let's move on to Game Week 24. So for Game Week 24, I go into it with 1 free transfer and 6.8 million in the bank. The reason for that is that I don't currently own a premium. So I took Ronaldo out for King in the hope that I would be bringing Salah back in for Game Week 24, which we're going to discuss. But I have 6.8 million to basically get any premium in the game I want, whether it be a midfielder or a striker. So I've got a lot of choices this week, but it largely means that probably my transfer this week will be to bring in a premium. I just need to decide who I want there. Outside of that, the team does largely pick itself, but there are a few key decisions in my team. And pretty much they're mainly in the goalkeeping spot and also in the defense as well. So I'm lucky enough this week that I've got 2 brilliant goalkeepers, but unfortunately it's a really tricky decision for me which one to play. So I've got Ramsdale currently is in my team. He's playing Wolves away, and I've got De Gea against Burnley at home on the bench. Now, this has been one that I've gone back and forth, but I've really switched maybe 4 or 5 times the keepers here. I would argue that the Burnley fixture is the better fixture. Wolves aren't great from an attacking perspective, but I think Burnley are even poorer. We've seen their last 2 games have both been 0-0 for Burnley, so I don't expect them to score particularly. But I think that the Arsenal defence is slightly stronger. And I also think that in the Burnley game, I can't imagine that Burnley will get too many shots. I think if United do concede, it will just be a random header from a corner or maybe a random goal here and there, maybe a moment of brilliance from Cornet. Whereas I think if Ramsdale does keep a clean sheet, I expect Wolves to take a few more shots, and that is backed up by the statistics. So it's a tricky one. I think whichever way I go, I'll feel like I'm going to end up getting this decision wrong probably. At the moment, I've gone for Ramsdale because I trust the Arsenal defence slightly more. And I also just think that Ramsdale's likely to make slightly more saves, and he's also very, very good for bonus points, even if he only makes 1 or 2 saves. I suppose the other thing that makes me feel slightly better, but this isn't the reason for my decision, is that I do currently have Dalot in my starting 11. So even if De Gea does keep a clean sheet and gets a massive haul, I should, assuming Dalot plays ahead of Wan-Bissaka, which I think he will, I should at least get a 6-pointer or a 5-pointer from Dalot. So at the moment, though, that is the decision for the goalkeeping spot. And then I suppose the second decision is Dalot versus Dawson. And it comes down to if I think Dalot's going to start. Because if he does, I think the fact that he's playing at right back and also getting forward quite a bit, I think he's probably the better choice over Dawson, specifically with the fact that just West Ham aren't fantastic defensively. But Watford have been pretty poor going forward. Again, Watford haven't scored in their last 2 games. So I do think that a Dawson clean sheet is quite likely as well. So Ramsdale versus De Gea is the first decision for me. And then Dalot versus Dawson's the second decision for me. For now, I've chosen Ramsdale and Dalot. I think I've got the best of both. I've got the Arsenal clean sheet covered. I've got the United clean sheet covered. I think I've got the keeper most likely to make saves in Ramsdale and the defender most likely to pick up bonus and potential attacking returns in Dalot as well. Let me know down below if you want to help me with my dilemma there. Who would you go for? Ramsdale versus De Gea, Dalot versus Dawson. The other 2 defenders pick themselves every single week. Cancelo and Trent. Decent fixtures this week, both playing at home. Brentford at home and Leicester at home. I've currently got the Vice on Trent. I've not really given much thought to the captaincy and the Vice, which we're going to discuss in a second. But I've just put the Vice on Trent just that I've got it in another game because my captain is in a different game to that one. With respect to the other defenders, like I said, I've got Dawson on the bench, and I've got Cucurella, who's blanking this week. But I'm delighted that I brought in Cucurella because he looks fantastic. As I always say, bit of a bonus points monster. And he's also got that double in game week 25 now. And then some pretty good fixtures from 28 onwards, or at least a mixed bag where he can rotate well with my other defenders as well. So I'm delighted with the backline and the goalkeepers. I'm happy that I've got Ramsdale for the game week 26 doubles. I've got De Gea for the game week 25 double. If I don't play my free hit in 27, I've got De Gea to cover for when Ramsdale blanks. So at least in the short term, Ramsdale and De Gea are covering me for every single blank and every single double as well. So I'm really happy with that. I'm happy enough with the back 5. I think the only spot which I'd probably be willing to change in the short term is I don't particularly want to keep Dawson now. After Watford, the fixtures start to turn slowly for West Ham for the worse, and I just don't trust the defence that much. So that's the defence. Let's take a look at my midfield 5 this week. So I think the midfield 5 pretty much picked themselves this week. Starting with Jota, I think it's a pretty decent fixture. And I do think over the next few weeks, we'll start to see a little bit more rotation with Jota. I know they've just signed Diaz, but I think Diaz has mainly been signed to compete with Mane. I know Firmino is back fully fit now and could potentially rotate in that forward spot. And Mane and Salah are coming back soon. At the time of recording this, I obviously don't know who wins the AFCON final, but whoever wins will be doing a parade in their home country with the trophy, and therefore they almost definitely won't be available for game week 24. And even the loser of the final, they might be given a little bit of rest, potentially on the bench, or might miss out altogether. So I do think at least for game week 24, Jota should be a nailed starter. And moving forward, I still expect him to get good minutes, but maybe that will be reduced slightly over the coming weeks. Bowen against Watford is absolutely perfect. We've seen how poor Watford have been recently. Now, they didn't look terrible defensively against Burnley, but I don't think Burnley offer a lot. They just looked really blunt in attack. But I still think that's a very, very good fixture for Bowen. I will be honest, if I'm worried about the potential rotation and minutes risk with other captaincy options, Bowen is definitely still a captaincy option for me. I think he'll do very, very well this week. You can see I've currently got Foden as my captain. Now, if I could guarantee that Foden starts, then I would feel significantly better captaining him. But you just never know. He obviously got quite a lot of minutes in the FA Cup. And therefore, you just, like I said, you never know with Pep, and you never know with Foden when he's going to start. Foden's definitely in Man City's best starting 11. He's definitely in Pep's favoured 11, but they do have most of their players back fit now. Mahrez looks on form. Sterling got a rest. I do think that there's a small chance that Foden misses out. So that's one to think about, is does the risk outweigh the reward? I don't know at this stage. So Foden's currently got the captain's armband, but I might end up bottling that and moving it elsewhere. We'll skip Gundogan for now. We've got Demarai Gray as well. I'm not particularly keen to keep Demarai Gray. It looks like Everton might play a 3-4-3. I'm not sure what they'll do when all of their players are back, but it looks like Gray might be playing in a slightly deeper role. And just regardless, his underlying statistics aren't that fantastic. I think there are a lot of good sort of £5.5 million options, which we've already discussed in our most recent video. The likes of McAllister, Elise, Martinelli. You could even go all the way down to like a Jacob Ramsey or a Moda, I should say. So I think there are lots of really good options around 5.5 million. And therefore, I'm not desperate to keep Gray. But I think when they've got Newcastle, Leeds, and I think Southampton in the next three, apart from potentially taking him out for a doubler in game week 26, I'm not that desperate to move him on for now. So he's one to monitor. I definitely don't mind selling him, but he's not a priority to ship out. And Newcastle away is a pretty good fixture. The fifth midfielder that I've got is Ilkay Gundogan. I've had a very difficult relationship, I should say, with Gundogan over recent weeks. Obviously, I brought him in ahead of Saka about maybe 6 to 8 weeks ago now, and I think he's got me about 4 points in total, absolutely no returns, and I've really struggled with him, and I keep keeping him and thinking, maybe he'll start eventually, maybe he'll start, because whenever he plays, he looks amazing, and the proof of that was in the FA Cup today, and he scored a goal, he looked really good, but the fact that he started in the FA Cup, and the fact Bernardo Silva was on the bench, I'd assume that Bernardo Silva comes straight back into that team for Gundogan. So Gundogan's going to be sold this week, almost definitely. And like I said, I've got 6.8 million in the bank. So Gundogan to one of KDB, Salah, or Bruno is almost definitely going to happen. We'll discuss in my watch list section after I've gone through my team which of those three I'm currently leaning toward and why I'm currently leaning toward that player. And we could potentially be doing some sort of hokey-cokey between them and moving them around and maybe going from premium to premium. But Gundogan to a premium midfielder is almost definitely happening this week. Let me know down in the comments which premium you think I should be going for, because I've basically got the choice of the bunch. So that's the midfield five. I think once you replace Gundogan with a premium midfielder, such as a Salah, Bruno or KDB, that midfield five actually looks really good, and I'm very happy with the midfield. Like I said, Gray's probably the one there that I wouldn't mind switching to the likes of a Martinelli ahead of game week 26. So that's midfield. Let's move on to the two strikers. So let's discuss the two strikers. We'll start with Antonio. Good fixture this week against Watford at home, and I'm fairly happy having Antonio for the short term at least. My issue with having both Antonio and Bowen, which we'll discuss later in the video as well, is twofold. The first is West Ham don't have any fixtures to be rearranged, so they don't have any doubles coming up. And therefore, you could potentially get someone else in both of their places at similar price points that have good underlying statistics, are playing for a good team, and also have double game weeks, and therefore more fixtures to potentially get points. Even someone like a Rafinha for a Bowen, or we could even move to someone like a Watkins and Antonio spot, who's got good immediate short-term fixtures and two good fixtures to be rearranged as well. So there are some good options around that, even someone like an Edouard or an Elise with a double game week in 26. So there are good options in and around those price points that I could potentially go to. And the second issue with Bowen and Antonio is from game week 28 onwards, there's a big fixture swing for lots of my players, and I'm not currently planning to wildcard now. And as a result, having two West Ham who also contribute to the issue that I've got, that there are difficult fixture swings around game week 28, it just further contributes and adds to my issue of being able to deal with that 28 fixture swing. So I'm considering potentially soon, maybe in the next few weeks, maybe for double game week 26, offloading Antonio. It's not necessarily an issue with Antonio himself. It's an issue with no doubles and a really clear fixture swing in 28 that I don't want to have Bowen and Antonio plus all of my other players having that really difficult fixture swing. I want to get on top of that a little bit sooner than just dealing with it when it arrives in game week 28. So that's my main issue with Antonio, but at least for this week, which we're discussing now, Watford at home is a great fixture, and I do have confidence that they'll do fairly well, Bowen and Antonio, but I do have more faith in Bowen than I do Antonio at the moment, of course. The second striker is Calvert-Lewin, who I was really actually happy to own. I think Frank will get something out of this Everton team over the next few weeks at the very least. There'll be some sort of new manager bounce, and I do think that Calvert-Lewin will do well over the next few weeks. He's got some good fixtures to be rearranged as well. They've got 3 Everton at some point in the near future to be rearranged. They could be mainly in the back end of the season, but you would expect at least one in the next sort of 6 to 8 weeks. But of course, he's now picked up yet another injury. And I do wonder whether now is the time to just use this as an excuse to just get off of Calvert-Lewin. It hasn't worked for me. Since I brought him in, I think he scored a total of about 3 points in about 6 weeks due to injury, due to games being cancelled, 0 pointers, 1 pointers. It's been an absolute nightmare transfer. And there are quite a few strikers that I want. I don't think the strikers are particularly appetising at the moment. I don't think there are any that really stand out. But like I said, and we'll discuss in the watch list section, you could go for just a straight swap for someone like Watkins, or you could downgrade to an Elise or an Edouard or a Mopé, both of who have double game weeks coming up. So there are a lot of good options in and around there, and I do think that this might be an opportunity to sell him. What I would say with Calvert-Lewin is if he is deemed fit, and Frank Lampard confirms that he's available to play, I'll probably keep him. Newcastle away is not worthy to take him out for a hit. I might end up taking him out in 25 or 26 for a doubler, but for this week at least, and then Leeds next week, it it seems sensible to just keep him for now and prioritize my transfers elsewhere. So that's the way the team currently looks. So just to recap my 3 major dilemmas or things to think about, I'd say 4. The first is Ramsdale versus De Gea. That's a really, really big decision for me. I do think I'll play Dalot ahead of Dawson. So really it's Ramsdale versus De Gea for me. The second of which is captaincy. So who do I captain this week? It's probably between Cancelo, Foden, and then whichever premium I bring in. That is then the third problem. Which premium to bring in for Gundogan? Is it Bruno, KDB, or Salah? And then the fourth problem is, do I decide to take out Calvert-Lewin if he's touch and go, or do I just hope that King and Dawson on the bench cover him? At the moment, dealing with those problems, I'm leaning to starting Ramsdale. I'm leaning to probably captaining Foden unless I get a premium in that I think is a confirmed starter, such as like a KDB. I think I might end up, or maybe even a Bruno, I might end up captaining. And then I think I'm currently leaning towards keeping Calvert-Lewin for now. I just think that for now he'll be fine. Unless he's confirmed as out, I don't think that's a priority transfer. So that's the team ahead of Game Week 24. What we're going to do now is going to take a quick look at my watch list and which players I'm potentially looking at over the coming weeks. And then we're going to take a look at my updated chip strategy. And I'm going to talk you through how I plan on navigating the next sort of 6 or so game weeks up to blank Game Week 30. So this is my updated watch list for Game Week 24 and beyond. I would say this is up to Game Week 27, not including 27, because as we'll see in the next section, I currently plan on playing my free hit in 27, and then 28, there's a big fixture swing. So this watch list is for Game Week 24, 25, and 26. You can see starting with the defenders, I've got 4 currently on there. I've got 2 Wolves defenders because they've got a double in 26 now. They've got decent fixtures from 28 onwards as well, so I could hold them long term. And they're playing in a really, really good, solid defense, and they've got really good underlying data. So I could potentially go for one of them. I think 8 Nuri's the cheaper and more exciting pick, but Johnny will be coming back soon at some point. Marcel is in there as well as a rotation threat. So I do think that he will have his minutes managed at some point. And if that does come in a double game week, that can be quite frustrating. As, for example, Loughton owners might have seen. If you go for a cheaper player that's not 100% nailed, although Loughton did look nailed, to be fair, I do think that you run the risk of potentially having rotation. So if I went for a Wolves defender at the moment, I think I'd be leaning towards Cody. I've also put Luca Dean in there. The reason for that is they've got really good fixtures over the next 3, 4, 5 weeks, even though the fact that they don't currently have a double plan. But they also have 2 really, really good fixtures to be rearranged at some point. One of those could potentially be in Game Week 27. Potentially, we could see one in 28 and 29 as well. So I think Luca Dean, despite not having a confirmed double at the moment, is still a fantastic option. But currently, the player that I want the most, because he fits my current chip strategy, and I also think they've probably got the best double outside of Liverpool from a defensive point of view in Game Week 26, is currently Kieran Tierney. Now, that would be a double up with Ramsdale, but I think that might be worth it. Like I said, Arsenal's defensive data is decent. And they've got Brentford and Wolves in the double game week. And I just think you could see at least 1 clean sheet there, potentially 2. And having the double up might be really nice. And like I said, they play in game week 30, which is nice, Arsenal. So they don't blank in 30. They've got decent fixtures over the remainder of the season. So I think I could definitely do worse than Tierney. So if I was to bring someone in now for Dawson as an example, I'd probably lean towards Tierney. With the midfielders, I've got quite a few on my watch list, and there's quite a few that I really do want. I think Elise is a really good option at 5.4 million. Very, very tempting. Great underlying statistics. Performed very, very well in the FA Cup as he has been in the Premier League. The only risk with Elise is that his minutes will probably be managed quite a lot, and he's got quite a lot of competition on those wings, whether it be Ayew, Zaha, Mateta, then Edouard dropping out to the wing. So there are a lot of potential players that can play in those wide positions. Eze is another player. And as a result, I think it's quite risky, but I am still quite tempted due to the fixtures being great. The other option, similarly to Tierney, is Martinelli for the same reasons that I've listed there. And also Martinelli's got great underlying data. 0.6 expected goal involvement per 90. Really, really good for a 5.4 million. If I don't want the slight risk of Martinelli's minutes, I guess the safer option is Saka. Could potentially double up on them if I wanted to, and I didn't want to go for Tierney, but I think I would lean toward Martinelli at the moment. I've also got Rafinha on there around that sort of 6.6, 6.5 million pound range. For example, if I do want to take Bowen out in the near future, or potentially I want to bring in Rafinha for Foden after the next 2 fixtures, I think Rafinha is a really good option just to hold over the remainder of the season. And the good thing I like about Rafinha is from about 27, 28 onwards, specifically 28 onwards, he's got some decent fixtures. And like I said, I'm trying to get ahead of that nasty game week 28 fixture swing rather than being like, oh no, like randomly didn't realise that there's a massive fixture swing in game week 28. So if I start making transfers now with that in mind, I'll hopefully get ahead of that a little bit. So Rafinha's a good option for that reason. And then I've currently got Fernandes and Salah as the 2 premiums. Now, KDB should probably be on here. The reason for Fernandes and Salah is twofold. Number one, I'm going to want Salah for 26. So if Salah doesn't win the AFCON final, if I'm confident that he plays in 24, it's saving me a transfer just going straight to Salah now. So that's the reason I like Salah, and then I'd probably hold him for the rest of the season, probably, or for the most of the season anyway. The reason I like Fernandes is that he's got a great fixture against Burnley in 24. He's looking really good. And then he's got the double in 25, where I think he's probably the best captaincy option. KDB is a bit of a... He doesn't have either of those things, right? Yes, he's got Brentford and Norwich, which are two very, very good fixtures. Yes, he's playing very well. And yes, he's a good captaincy option in both. But he doesn't have a double in 25 and he doesn't have the double in 26. So if I get KDB now, I have to probably avoid Bruno or transfer to Bruno in 25 and then transfer to Salah in 26. So it's a lot of going between my premiums there. So I think at the moment I'm leaning towards Fernandes. I know there is that slight rumour that he's picked up a back injury. I think Rangnick confirmed that he got a knock on his back, but he was able to play through the game and he didn't look in too much discomfort. So I assume Bruno Fernandes will be fine. If Bruno Fernandes is confirmed fit and I've got any worries about Salah, I think I'll just go for Bruno. Have Bruno for 24, have Bruno for 25 for the double. Captain him probably in both, definitely in Game Week 25, and then ready for Game Week 26, do Bruno to Salah, and therefore I get the best of both. The 25 double and I get the 26 double as well, and probably the two best captaincy options. So that's the current plan with the midfield. And then with forwards, there are 3 on my watch list, but there are 2 that I'm really, really tempted by. The one that is sort of third in line is Mopé. He's got a decent double in 25. He's got okay underlying data. And I do think he's a decent option at 6.5 million. But I do think that I prefer some other slightly more exciting picks and slightly more explosive picks as well. I've got Edouard on there. He is the man that is pointing you at you as well. The reason for Edouard being on there is he's got decent underlying data. He might potentially be on penalties at points. He has taken a penalty this season. And he's got the double in 26. So he's basically got like Norwich, Brentford, I think it's Burnley, Chelsea, Watford, something like that, the fixtures. So he's got really good fixtures over the next 4 or 5, got a double in 26, and he's money saved potentially on Calvert-Lewin if I do decide to take Calvert-Lewin out. And then the other one is Watkins. Like I said, similar price to Antonio and Calvert-Lewin. Good single fixtures, as we said, with Luca Dean, and also fixtures be rearranged as well. So I think you can definitely do worse than having Ollie Watkins over the next sort of 6 game weeks or so. So that's the current watch list. At the moment, it's going to be probably, like I said, a premium in for Gundogan. Then it's up to me, do I want to take a hit to take Calvert-Lewin out, which will probably be a no. And then in future weeks, sort of 25, 26, I'm probably looking at Tierney almost definitely in for Dawson. I think that's just a good transfer to make for my team. And then maybe Martinelli, Rafinha, and one of Edouard and Watkins are potential options as well to come in from some of my single game week players. So that's my current watch list. Let me know down below if there are any players on your watch list that I've not included here. This is, of course, for my specific team and also my chip strategy. So without further ado, let's discuss what I plan on doing for my chips for the remainder of the season. So here is my updated chip strategy. Let me walk you through it. Let me walk you through the issues that I might encounter with this, and also I can walk you through some potential other times that you might want to play these chips as well. It largely depends on how your team looks now. Do you want to play an early wildcard or a late wildcard? Have you used any of the chips? Do you have 1 free hit, 2 free hits? What is your general management style? Do you tend to be aggressive? Do you mind taking hits? Do you prefer to play free hits in blanks or doubles? There are so many things to think about, and I will reiterate once again, this is incredibly team dependent, manager dependent, and there is no one correct answer. No one can see into the future. There is no one strategy that is definitely the best optimal way to do it. This is just what I'm currently planning with the team that I've got and the way that I want to deal with the upcoming game weeks as well. So for Game Week 24, as I said, probably 1 free transfer. Game Week 25, I don't plan on making any transfers. If possible, I'm going to try and roll a transfer in Game Week 25 if I can. I'll show you in the next section, the final section. I'll tinker live with my team and I'll show you what it looks like for 25. But without any transfers, I've got 4 doublers. I've got De Gea, Dalot, Cucurella, and if I bring in Fernandes, I have Fernandes captain. I don't think you need more than 4 doublers, especially when there is literally only 1 fixture, Brighton versus Manchester United, that's been added. I don't plan on playing a bench boost or a triple captaincy that week, so it'll be 4 doublers, hopefully rolling the transfer, and no chip used. I do currently plan on using a chip in 26, as most people will. I don't think it will be the free hit, because with a -4, I can get to 7 doublers, I believe, if I roll a transfer. With a -8, I could potentially get as many as 8 doublers, and I'm happy with the doublers I have. They're not terrible doublers. They're actually ones that I would probably be having on a free hit anyway, and therefore I'd probably be free hitting to add a couple more players. And there are some teams that have decent single game week fixtures as well, and on a free hit you almost feel obliged to take those out. So that's why I'm not free hitting. With respect to the bench boost, my bench just isn't that amazing. I have a few decent players like Dalot, against Leeds. I think De Gea against Leeds. I've got Foden against Tottenham. But I don't think the bench quite looks strong enough for me to think that that's the optimal time to play it anyway. So that's why I'm currently planning triple captain in 26. It'll almost definitely be Salah. I might be tempted into Trent, but I think I'll just go for Salah. And I think it's probably me just trying to overthink it, considering that Trent might potentially outscore Salah. So currently triple captain in 26 is the plan. I then plan on free hitting in 27. Let me explain the reason for that. As of now, or as of when I get Salah in as well, I'll have triple Liverpool. I'll have Ramsdale. I know I have De Gea to come in as well, but Ramsdale blanking is another one. I'll probably have, at the very least, one more Arsenal player, probably Tierney, and I could potentially have Martinelli. So let's say, as a minimum, I'll have 4 outfield players missing from Game Week 27, because, of course, Arsenal, Leicester, Chelsea, and Liverpool all blank in 27. So I'll have 4 players, outfield players, missing from 27 already. I also have Josh King in my team, who I'm going to keep for the Game Week 26 double, and he's got Manchester United in Game Week 27. I've also probably still have Calvert-Lewin and Gray. Both of those play against Manchester City. So I've not only got 10 players. Of course, I can make a transfer to take one of those out, but I've got 10 players. I've got 2 players against City. I've got Josh King against Manchester United. And I have a couple of other players that just have average fixtures. I don't really want to take out Tierney, Jota, Salah, or Trent because I want them long term. So I'm going to be left with 10 players and 10 pretty rubbish players at that as well. If you also consider the fact that some of the teams that I wouldn't have any players from, I wouldn't have many players from, have really good fixtures that week. For example, Spurs have Leeds, so I might want to load up on Spurs players. Crystal Palace, if I don't own any of their players, they have Burnley. Saints, Southampton, I think they have Norwich that week, so you could potentially load up on like Livramento and Broja. Manchester United have a great fixture. I probably would have taken out Fernandes for Game Week 26 to get Salah in, so I'd probably want to bring in maybe Fernandes or Ronaldo back in. So I look at the free hit in 27, and it looks like a great time to deal with the fact that I've got a few key players missing in my team. Get in some really good options in maybe Son, Kane, Bruno, Ronaldo, Livramento, Broja. I think also Aston Villa have a decent fixture as well. I probably don't own any Aston Villa players. So I just look at that week and I just think there is enough upside for me to chase that. Also, Ben Crellin has said there's a small possibility that we get some doubles added into 27. And I think Villa and Burnley were 2 of the teams that might potentially get a double. I'll have to recheck that. But essentially, you're looking at potentially that even then becoming a double game week or a small double game week. It just looks like an impossible time with my current team to deal with that in an effective way without deploying the free hit. Considering the fact I also have 2 free hits, so I've got another one to fall back on, in my opinion, that looks like a clear-cut free hit for me for now. Right, I can change my mind. I don't fall victim to plan continuation bias too often anyway. I'm not particularly stubborn. So if anything changes, I might save it. But for now, free hit 27 looks good. I've then got the second free hit to be used in 1 of 2 weeks. And this largely depends on what happens with the fixtures in blank game week 30, which will, I think, see between 27 and 28. We'll see the 5th round FA Cup results, and that will decide who blanks in game week 30. So look out for between 27 and 28. We should get the 5th round FA Cup results, and therefore we should find out who blanks. If game week 30, I can navigate that fairly well with the team I've already got, then I won't use the free hit. So if I can navigate, I can get out 11 players that have got decent fixtures, then I'll just won't use the free hit. I'll save it. But if I've got a similar situation to 27 where I've got maybe 10 players and those 10 players aren't great, I don't have the best captaincy options, there are other premiums with really good fixtures, then I might just decide to deploy the free hit in game week 30. So that will be largely dependent on what happens in the FA Cup. So I won't be able to answer that question for a few weeks now. If I don't need to play it in game week 30, which is probably going to be quite a big blank game week, what I'll instead do is I'll attack game week 33, which looks like it will be the second biggest double in the remainder of the season. Again, I might not need it in 33. If I don't need it in 33, my team looks perfect. Maybe I'll save it for maybe 37 or 38. Maybe I'll free hit on the final day of the season if I want to. But it looks like, for me, the biggest blank of the season is probably going to be game week 30, so I can potentially play it there. And if I don't need to, I'll probably play it in the second biggest double, which will be game week 33. So that's the current plan for the second free hit. I then plan on playing quite a late wildcard, which will be around game week 34, game week 35. The reason for that is I don't think I need to wildcard earlier in the season particularly, and I also think there will just be such a great opportunity in game week 36 to set up the perfect bench boost. Game week 36 looks like we'll have potentially as many as 16 to 18 teams doubling, probably as little as 12 to 14 teams. We're going to have a huge double game week in game week 36. And as a result, if you wildcard just before then, You can know who's playing well, which teams still have stuff to play for. Are there any budget gems popping up in the end of the season with potentially like young players coming through? You can probably build a very, very good bench boost ahead of 36. And I like wildcarding straight into a bench boost for that reason, because you can structure the bench boost perfectly. And you can also, with that wildcard, really attack game week 37 and 38 with the fixtures as well. So you might think that you're not making the most of a late wildcard in that way, but assuming that you can deal using your free hits and other chips with the next few weeks at least, the game week 28 will be the big one that you need to deal with. But outside of that, I think a late wildcard could be really useful. And I think the potential upside of a massive game week 36 towards the back end of the season is really exciting, is the first thing. And FPL is meant to be fun. But it could also be a massive amount of points. You could be looking at sort of 30 points on your bench if you set it up in a way that's really attacking those doubles. So that's the way I'm currently viewing what's going on. The big issue for me is game week 28, like I said, is a big fixture swing. I'm going to want Chelsea players. West Ham's fixtures turn for the worst. If I own any Manchester United players, which will probably be De Gea and Dalot, their fixtures turn for the worst. Cities aren't particularly ideal. Wolves and Chelsea have the really good fixtures coming up. So I think there will be a bit of a struggle for those of us that don't wildcard in 28 to make that switch. And again, you don't have to do that all in 1 week. You can make maybe a -4 in game week 28. You can do a -4 in game week 29. You can start making transfers now, like I said, in preparation for that fixture swing as well. So it's not the end of the world, but it is definitely something to consider. So if you want me to summarize the strategy, if none of that made sense and I talked far too quickly, which I know I do, what I'm essentially doing is I'm attacking the doubles in 25 and 26 with free transfers, maybe a hit here or there, and I'm deploying my triple captain in 26. I'm then going to focus on the 28 fixture swing with my free transfers and maybe potentially taking a hit as well, and just focus on trying to deal with that in the best way possible and trying to not fall too far behind with those that are wildcarding in 28. Don't worry about the blanks in game week 27 or 30 because I have the opportunity to play my free hits in 27 and 30. So don't stress too much about keeping players because they play in 27 and getting rid of players if they don't play in 30. I don't need to stress about the blanks. And then utilizing a late wildcard to maximize the bench boost and attack the final few game weeks. So that's sort of a description of how I'm approaching the back end of the season. Hopefully that's been useful for you. If you go back and watch my previous video where I talk about game week 26, I went through 4 possible chip strategies. So if you're thinking this isn't the chip strategy for me, go and watch that because there are 3 other chip strategies listed there. And there are some really good ones there as well. I think if you're not doing this and you've not activated the free hit yet, I'd probably try and save the free hit and activate it in game week 28. Because I think game week, apart from using it late to really attack the bench boost in 36 and to attack the last few game weeks, I think a wildcard in 28 is probably the best use of that chip. So that's what my current plan is. Let me know down below what your chip strategy looks like. Are you using something fairly similar to me? I think this will be quite a popular one, but I'm always open to hearing creative uses of chips down below. So finally, I just wanted to show you what that plan actually looks like. I've gone through all of my different chip strategies and my transfers and potential moves, but sometimes that can be quite difficult to visualize. And I know you guys enjoy it when I just go through in a bit of a long form manner my thought process and how that will look for future weeks. The website that I'm using, I should probably put on the graphic, is fpl.team. I say it in every video and I still get asked in the comments down below. fpl.team. Type that into your URL. It will come up with this website. You type in your team ID and you can plan ahead and see what your team looks like for future weeks, which is a really useful tool. So assuming that I bring in Fernandes for Gundogan this week and assuming Calvert-Lewin is fit, I would, of course, like I said, use 1 free transfer, not taking a hit. I'll probably captain Fernandes or Foden. I'd need to decide between the two. If Fernandes is a slight risk and I still go for it, and if Foden's a slight risk, I might just captain Bowen or Cancelo, because both are almost definitely going to start. They're both good options. I might just go for Cancelo. He's got such great attacking output, good underlying statistics, and also they're likely to keep a clean sheet as well. So, but this is the way the team currently looks. As you can see, that would leave me with 2.3 million in the bank, which is nice, but I need to remember that I need to keep some of that to bring in Salah for Fernandes in 26. So that's the way the team looks for 24. If I just skip ahead to next week, this is the way the team looks for 25. So let me just set it up. Of course, I'll have De Gea coming in for Ramsdale. Like I said, it's really nice the way these two rotate over the next few weeks. I'd probably bring in Cucurella for... That'd be a tricky one. Didn't think about this one. Probably Antonio. And then I'll put Antonio first sub like that. So this is the way the team will look for 25. And this is why I've said I don't need to make a transfer in game week 25. Hopefully, I'll be able to roll the transfer. The only thing that I might want to do is if Calvert-Lewin's ruled out long-term and he doesn't play the Newcastle game, I might take this as an opportunity to take him out, potentially for Mopay or just get ready for 26. But considering I've got Antonio and King on the bench, what I'll probably do if Calvert-Lewin is out is I'll just put one of those in and then I'll use the transfer in 26 to move Calvert-Lewin to like an Edouard or someone like that potentially instead. So I don't think I'll need to use a transfer in 25 either. I've got both City boys against Norwich. I've got, like I said, 4 double game week players in De Gea, Dalot, Cucurella and Fernandes. Gray and Calvert-Lewin against Leeds. I've got the 2 Liverpool players against Burnley and Bowen against Leicester. The team looks arguably like you would use for a free hit. So I don't think I need to make a transfer this week. So assuming that nothing major happens and I can roll, this is the way I would look going into game week 26. So let me set it up for 26 once again. Again, rotate Ramsdale back in for De Gea. I'd bring in King for Calvert-Lewin. I'd probably bring in Antonio for Gray, assuming that I don't make a transfer there. And then I would probably, like I said, this would be the time then Fernandes now becomes Salah. So Fernandes to Salah, I've still got 1.3 million in the bank. I would still also have 1 free transfer here. So let's say that I do decide here, now is the time that I want to do Dalot to Tierney. That would be my 2 free transfers. What I could potentially do instead if I don't want to do Dalot to Tierney, because Dalot's got a decent enough fixture. And like I said, I don't even need to play Dalot here. I could potentially just play Gray or Calvert-Lewin. What I could do instead is, again, just bench Dalot, and then I could use my transfer in the attack instead. So I could, at this point now, say, right, now I decide I want to take out Calvert-Lewin for Edouard, or I want to take out potentially Gray for Martinelli. So I've got lots of different options here. For now, let's say that I'm going to do Dalot, because there is that clear fixture swing in 28, like I said, and I want to get ahead of that nice and early. And Manchester United are one of those teams that do have a clear fixture swing. So let's say that I do want to do that. This is the way the team will look. I have at this stage the choice, do I want to take a hit in 26, because I'd currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 doublers. So like I said, I can get 6 doublers for free. At this stage, maybe Foden to Rafinha is a good idea. I don't think the double is that great for Rafinha of Manchester United and Liverpool, but he's still got 2 fixtures to potentially do something. And the other reason I do like Rafinha once again is from 28 onwards, they've got some decent fixtures and I'm getting ahead of it slightly early. I do think that Foden's probably the better option, but this would leave me with 2 million in the bank and a decent team going forward. So let's say they're the transfers. Let's say I bring in Salah, Tierney and Rafinha. I need to have a proper think about which players I want. The team would look like that. 7 doublers, -4 for game week 26. This would be my bench. It is potentially bench boost worthy, but when I look at the opportunity to triple captain Salah against Norwich and Leeds at home, I think I'd rather the triple captain. So let's then move to game week 27. This doesn't matter now. I'm planning on free hitting. I'm almost dead ending my team and forcing myself into the free hit because I just think that would be optimal. I've got lots of blank players here. Rafinha against Tottenham, King against United. Like I said, Gray and Calvert-Lewin against Man City. I've got triple West Ham against Wolves. Specifically the 2 attackers. That is not a good fixture to play Wolves. So I don't think this is a team that you can get away with not free hitting in 27. So let's just ignore this because I'll deploy a free hit this week. So then I need to look at, well, what does my team look like ahead of game week 28? So this is the way the team currently looks. Ramsdale against Watford's fine. And Ramsdale moving forward, if we take a look at the fixtures, Watford, Leicester, Villa, Palace, Brighton, Southampton, I'm perfectly fine with keeping Ramsdale. Cancelo against United's fine. I'll keep Cancelo. Trent against West Ham is fine. And then Newcastle for Cucurella and Watford for Tierney's great. So my back 5... I'm perfectly happy with. Salah and Jota against West Ham are fine. And if I've brought in Rafinha for this reason, Leicester away is an absolutely fine fixture as well. Outside of that, though, the team's a bit of a mess. Bowen, Antonio, King, De Gea, Gray, Calvert-Lewin and Dawson are all players that I don't particularly want long-term. So in game week 28, I'll only have 1 free transfer because I would have just used the free hit. So I need to decide ahead of game week 28, which players do I want to prioritise transferring out. And I think for me, the likely transfers will probably be in my attack. So I'd probably be looking at how can I optimize my attack. And I'm not going to decide now because I think there are so many different players that might come into our thinking. But assuming that Villa haven't had both of their fixtures rearranged, which they shouldn't have by then, I might potentially bring in Watkins for Antonio. So if we do that, the team already looks slightly better then. And if I bring in someone else for Gray, even someone such as a Martinelli, if I haven't already done it at this stage, you can see straight away the team actually looks all right. So I'm not panicking about 28, but it's definitely something to consider. Also, if you consider the fact at this stage, I'd probably want a Reece James. So I guess I could do Dawson to Reece James instead, because if you just see Chelsea's fixtures are ridiculous from 28. They've got Burnley, Newcastle, Norwich, Brentford, Southampton, Leeds in the next 6 from 28 onwards. So I might even want a Mason Mount in there. I guess I'm not going to go into too much detail now, but the thing is just consider that game week 28 fixture swing if you're not currently planning on wildcarding. If you wildcard in 28, you can really attack those fixtures, but just think about how are you going to get the best team out for like game week 33, game week 36 as well, and also consider how you're going to maneuver game week 30 if you haven't got your second free hit. So hopefully that's useful for you to see the way I currently plan on attacking it from then on in. Of course, when you go through to 29, 30, etc., the fixtures are still sort of changing and chopping. It depends how many players you keep, etc. I think that's probably too far ahead to start looking. So I think up to 28 is probably a nice look, even up to 27 if you're free hitting, and then consider the 28 fixture swing after that. So yeah, as I said, please do let me know how you're planning on dealing with the upcoming weeks. This is what makes FPL so exciting, when we all start going down our own path and using different chips, using different transfers as well. This is where planning ahead becomes incredibly important. COVID hasn't disappeared by any means, but it looks like it will have less of an impact on postponements now. So I do think we need to get back into the habit of planning ahead and looking what our team might look like for future weeks. Finally, I just wanted to give a massive shout out to the Raptor Hall of Fame, who are absolute legends that continue to support the channel every single month, and I cannot thank them enough. If you ever see YouTubers talk about memberships, or if you ever see that join button next to the subscribe button, what that is, it's the opportunity to become a member of a YouTube channel. By becoming a member, what you do is you donate a small monthly fee to the channel and to the content creator, and in return you get some very cool perks. And it's up to the content creator what perks they want to give you and at what price they want to charge for the tiers and what they want to offer. So what I've got 2 different tiers. If you want to become a Raptor 2 supporter, that's only 99p a month, and in return you get a cool badge next to your name depending on how long you've been a member. It's a normal badge if you're new, green badge for 1, blue badge for 2, etc. 6 months, 12 months. So you get a cool badge next to your name, which helps me to prioritize replying to your comments, and in live streams I prioritize responding to your comments as well. And you also get member shout outs as well, and you get custom emojis. So for only 99p you get some pretty cool perks. If you want to become a Raptor 1 premium supporter, that is £4.99 per month, and what you get there is you get numerous things. You get to join our Raptor 1 mini league, you get to be followed by myself on Twitter, and you get to personally DM me with anything you want to talk about, FPL or otherwise. And the most important thing, and I think the best element of being a Raptor 1 supporter, is that you get entered into our massive group chat over on Twitter, which might be moving to Discord or WhatsApp potentially soon, if it becomes any bigger, I should say. But we all discuss FPL football. There are so many people from different backgrounds, different countries. The chat is always pretty lively as well. So if you want like-minded people that also watch my content and play FPL to discuss stuff with, and you also want to support the channel, you can become a Raptor 1 member. There's no obligation to become a member of any kind. The content will continue to be free. But for those of you that do want to support the channel, or you just want to become a part of the Raptor community, you can become a member. You can either click the join button next to the subscribe button, or you can click the link in the description which says if you want to join, click this link here. Most importantly, I want to thank the 53 members that we've currently got on the channel. I can't thank each of you enough. You're absolute legends. You support me so much, and I appreciate it more than you will ever know. So guys, there you have it. That is my current Game Week 24 team selection. Also gone through my transfer plans, my watch list, my updated chip strategy, and also discussed how I plan on just navigating the next few weeks with all of the blanks and doubles that we've got coming up. If you are enjoying the content here on this channel, please do remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Those 3 things are completely free for you to do, but they massively help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, do consider becoming a member by clicking the join button, or clicking the link in the description, which says if you want to become a member, click this link here. I will be live streaming before the Game Week 24 deadline, but because I lecture all day on a Tuesday, I can't do a deadline stream, and as such, I'll be live streaming on Monday evening, GMT time. It'll be 7 p.m. GMT. So if you want to tune into that, if you want to ask your questions, it'll be sort of a live Q&A. I'll go through what my updated transfer plans are. I might have already made the transfer by that stage, unlikely, but I'll give you an update on that. We can also discuss chip strategies, general transfer plans, and it should be a really, really good stream with a really good atmosphere. So do tune into that. Set yourself a reminder, 7 p.m. GMT. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.